happens, and then whatever is left from second day continues to grow in the third day, and it is a sprouting time now. And this goes on the fourth day to leaf formation, on the fifth day to budding. On the sixth day, this turns into flowering. The plant starts giving flowers right now on the sixth day. And the seventh day is a time for fruition. So the evolution of consciousness through the days can be explained metaphorically like this. So first day, the seed, and the seventh day, you got the fruit from that seed. And of course, that fruit has another seed which can grow, give life to another plant. But this is somehow an expanded version. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to make you too confused right now. So let's just stick with this basic 7 days. Therefore, the 9 underworlds and 13 heavens actually come together in this structure. It's not like 9 underworlds are under the ground and the 13 heavens are up in the sky. They are metaphorical expressions of different time cycles, of different evolution, different aspects of evolution of consciousness. And so therefore, 9 underworlds and 13 heavens actually look like this. But let's just go through the first underworld, and let's look at these 13 heavens. The first underworld is made up of 13 hablatums. So one hablatum is 1.2 billion years, and if you multiply it by 13, you will come up with 16.4 billion years. So the first underworld is 16.4 billion years long. What happened 16.4 billion years ago then? Today the scientists usually accept approximately around 13 billion years long, the age of universe. Like the Big Bang is supposed to happen around 13 billion years long. But before that, some scientists were saying that, okay, it might be 20 billion years. So it's fluctuating between 13 billion years to 20 billion years. So perhaps the Mayans were somehow aware of the beginning of the universe. So the first underworld level actually refers to the creation of universe, the manifestation of the matter, so to say, with the Big Bang. So the Mayan calendar starts with the universe. There is no Mayan calendar before universe. With the Mayan calendar, there is universe. And this is called the cellular underworld because in the end, towards the end of this underworld, the first cell starts to emerge. So the first life starts to emerge on this planet. The second underworld comes on top of that. Depending on these basic life forms, evolution takes another rhythm, which is happening every 63 million years. So every 63 million years, there's another leap of evolution in the biological sense. And I already gave you some data supporting that from Rode and Muller's research. And so the tempo of evolution gets 20 times faster in the second level. It becomes every 63 million years long. When we come to the third level, it's every 41 million, it's every 2 million years, these days and nights. And if you multiply 3.2 million years by 13, you will come up with 41 million years. And what happened in the 41 million years ago was manifestation of the monkeys. The evolution came to such an advanced point that after the mammals evolution, monkeys is somehow a more intelligent life form has emerged on planet Earth. So that is approximately around 41 million years ago. And the fourth level, around 2 million years ago, is around the starting of the fourth underworld, the fourth level, the human underworld. And it has also 13 heavens, or 7 days and 6 nights, of course. And they are 160,000 years long, each one of them. So evolution gets, again, one more time faster, 20 times faster. So this constant of 20 is repeating there. So this is how it has been until now. And after this, we can say that the biological evolution stopped. The biological evolution came to its final stage with the emergence of the human beings. I mean, I would say In fact, I should have said not 2 million years ago, but 160,000 years ago. With the seventh day, with the final time cycle of this underworld. So it's the fourth underworld. And the fifth underworld, the cultural one, started around 102,000 years ago. And that's where not a biologically evolved, but a more mentally evolved human being took place. That's when we started using tools. That's when we started going into art and creating these paintings on the wall, and started speaking and bringing about creating cultures. So that's why it's called cultural underworld. So this is more of an advanced form of humans, but more on a mental level, more on a consciousness level. So the evolution of consciousness is not directly influencing the nervous system and the physical bodies anymore, but it is happening within the same nervous system until this point. After this point, sorry. In the sixth level started with 3115 BC, and that's also the long count, famous long count calendar of the Maya. According to Kalaman, this is also the national underworld, and we're going to look closely into this cycle because it is very significant. It brought about many significant shifts in our consciousness. And again, the evolution of consciousness is now 20 times faster compared to one level down. It's now every 400 years. It's every one Baktun. And when we come to the seventh level, it's planetary underworld. It started in 1755. And this is when the Industrial Revolution started to have its initiative, and more like the European Enlightenment. And we started developing more a secular mind. We started developing also a very materialistic kind of mentality. And this also, of course, brought about many advances and many quick advances in industry and technology, but it also has a lot of backdraws, like we started exploiting the world more than before and stuff like that. And the eighth floor started on 5th of January 1999. And this is where things are getting really interesting, because since 1999, we are evolving, our consciousness is evolving into a new form where it is kind of putting us back with our spiritual essence. Because the planetary underworld and the national underworlds, the 6 and the 7 levels, pushed us away from our spiritual essence. So we kind of walked out of our house. But this 8th level is somehow inspiring us to come back home, which is our spiritual essence, so to say. Atman, according to the Indian philosophy, according to Vedanta. So, but this doesn't, of course, happen instantaneously, just like that. It will happen, it is happening gradually, and we're going to take a quick look into that. It's happening every 360 days. So, okay, what is the practical point here? You can just look back into your own lives and see what's happening to you since 1999. What is happening the world around you since 1999? There are many people who are getting interested into Eastern philosophies, right? Like spirituality, ecological farming, permaculture, Reiki, or you name it, you know. There are so many things that we are getting extremely interested that have been outside the mainstream consciousness after 1999. Of course, there have been many movements before 1999, but with 1999, there's a strong shift. There's much more interest into yoga, meditation, and alternative therapies, and as I said, into oneness consciousness, so to say. Like more community feelings are evolving. There are much more communities, sustainable communities in the world today than before 1999. So this is somehow a level of consciousness which is helping us to prepare for the 9th level. And the 9th level is yet to come. It is going to come in 10th of February 2011, which is not far from now. And this is the 9th level. This is the final step of evolution. This is called the universal underworld. By the way, why we call the planetary underworld? Because we had some kind of a planetary consciousness. Since 1755, we are able to travel around the world in 80 days. We are able to make rockets and that can go out of our atmosphere and have a picture of our planet, and we can see that Earth is spherical, and so we have a kind of planetary consciousness. the galactic underworld, galactic consciousness. How? Why? Since 1998, the NASA have been exploring our galaxy immensely so that we can actually look at an abstracted picture of our galaxy. This is also because of the Hubble Space Telescope and other things, that we can observe our galaxy so well that NASA is able to make a map of our galaxy. So we know our galaxy very well now, which would also mean that we are somehow coming into a galactic consciousness. And the universal consciousness, the universal underworld, is about coming to a universal oneness level in our consciousness, which would mean, like, if you read the life stories of sages or yogis or enlightened beings, they will always say that, hey, I am one with universe. The universe is inside of me. I am the universe. So somehow this 9 levels of consciousness is very much related with this concept of enlightenment. Not the concept, but experience of enlightenment. So also the Mayan people, I'm not just speculating from my own mind, the Mayan people also in their ceremonies, remember these temples built in 9 levels, these pyramids. The shaman king would walk up in these pyramids, and when the shaman king comes to the top of the pyramid, he would make a ceremony or a ritual that would signify enlightenment. Or he would get enlightened. He would get specific trances and going into specific states of mind. And this would then therefore mean that in the Mayan culture, going up to the top of the pyramid means enlightenment or a high state of mind, a high state of consciousness. And this is also obvious if you just analyze the evolution of consciousness of humanity. Of course, you might want to say that 100,000 years ago, maybe we were much more wiser, we were in harmony with the nature and stuff like that, and you have a lot of good points there. You can say Aboriginal consciousness is even better than our consciousness today. You are very right. But again, towards the end of this lecture, I'll give you some more other dynamics of this evolution of consciousness, where you can see that this is not, that consciousness of the Aboriginals is not the final step. That's also, of course, very good. We need to connect with that, but we need to add something on top of that, because that represents the 5th level of evolution. We want to go to the 9th level of consciousness. We want to finish this whole plan. And divine plan, the 9 gods, according to the Maya, is descending. And this descension will be completed on 28th of October 2011. So we didn't have a lot of chronological time left. What do I mean by that? Oh, you can say, oh, there's only 1.5 years left or something like that. How can you expect the world to be changing so tremendously? Well, if you think from a chronos aspect of time, from a chronological, mechanical time, you are right. There's not enough time. But if you look at things from the kairos, from the spiritual time, there is a lot of time before the end of the Mayan calendar. Because there's one entire underworld which haven't started yet. Which would mean that, okay, the 9th underworld is just 260 days long. It's pretty short, right? It's very intensive. This 260-day cycle actually, in theory, carries same amount of time with the first underworld, which is 16 billion years long. So whatever happened in 16 billion years could also happen only in 260 days, because that's how the holographic structure of the Mayan calendar suggests us. We can see that that amount of evolution can take place in different amounts of chronological times. So in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if we have only 1 year left or not. Because when things happen on right time, if we come to a critical mass, if enough people on the planet Earth starts thinking and acting in a specific way, if enough people on planet Earth if we put our intention in enough numbers into oneness consciousness, into compassion, forgiveness, and love and peace, this can manifest entirely. And very importantly, the divine plan is supporting this. So when you look at the Mayan calendar, the divine plan will say that, okay, you are going there. The support is there. All these energies, all these 7 days and 6 nights and the underworlds are helping us to be there. Okay, that's one thing, that is a great thing. However, this won't happen automatically. So now, I'm putting the responsibility right into your hands, right into my own hands as well. We are going to make it. It's not going to happen by a Pleiadian light or galactic alignment or some astronomical event out there. It is happening through us, with us. And we have to awaken to many things, like the ecological disasters, for example. And it is also happening, on the other hand. Many people are awakening into the damages that we are giving to the earth. So that also is an important empirical support that we are there. We are influenced by the galactic underworld. More and more people are thinking about the wholeness of the planet, the entirety of the life. Because in life there are no borders. But the Western mind, the left brain consciousness, likes to make a lot of borders. I'm going to talk about that very soon. But in reality, these borders are not there. So I just go into my car here and drive my car, and the carbon dioxide that I emit is affecting the forest in somewhere else or changing the climate somewhere else. But entirely, in its reality, everything is connected. And the galactic underworld, since 1999, is helping us to see that. Because our consciousness has been filtered in a way that we are not seeing the oneness. We are always inspired by duality. And now we are coming to more of a oneness, more right brain perspective. So this is how it looks, the 9 underworlds and the 13 heavens. Now, I want to talk more about this consciousness that emerged in our collective mind around 5,000 years ago, which can also be called the civilized mind. And according to the historians, the mainstream science of history, there happened something 5,000 years ago, around 3000 BC. It's like the civilization start taking place. The civilized consciousness is taking place. But I want to look at this time from a mythical standpoint, and I see a coincidences of myths. There are 3 myths that are coming from different traditions, different geographies, that are somehow talking about the same thing. One of them is coming from the Maya, of course. In 3115 BC, first father erected the world tree so that the light could enter. What this means, we're going to look at it pretty soon. Another myth from the Vedic culture. On 3102 BC, Krishna left this earth at the end of Bharata war. Well, this would mean that because Krishna is manifestation of God on earth, after he leaves earth or he dies or he passes away, earth is somehow in darkness. And also in the internet you can find in many different resources that actually this state is referred to as the beginning of the Kali Yuga, which is the dark age, where humanity is in the worst spiritual conditions. So this is somehow referring to a kind of something bad that happened in the world, some kind of a darkness that emerged in the planet, in humanity. Okay, another one from Judaistic culture. The Jewish calendar actually starts around, I'm not sure if it's exactly true, if it's wrong please correct me, if you know the correct date. It's 3682 BC. That's when the Jewish calendar started, when the Genesis took place. Okay, and what does it say? The myth is that Adam and Eve are fallen from the Garden of Eden. So there's kind of a fall from Garden of Eden, where it's the place of divinity and everything is one, everything is perfect. And we are fallen to this earth where there is a lot of confusion, there is duality, there is separation. And we are not in that perfect state of mind anymore. Okay, this is the way I interpret it, of course. And I would say that this fall of Adam and Eve is not a geographical fall, it's not a physical fall, but it's a fall in consciousness. It's the fall from oneness consciousness into duality consciousness, from to separation consciousness. Okay, now let's go back. The Vedic myth would also say, okay, so you might want to say this is pretty far, like 3,000, there's 500 years difference of the Jewish calendar. But if you compare, if you look at the entire history of humanity, like 2 million years ago, we had an evolution that is coming from monkeys. This 500 years is not too long. That's not too big difference. You can still oppose me on that, but this is how I see it. So the connection is that the Jewish culture says there's a kind of a fall, and I interpret it as a consciousness fall. And the Vedic culture says this is when the Dark Age started. So there's kind of a fall in consciousness again, from spiritual light to spiritual darkness. And the Maya says, First Father erected the world tree so that the light could enter. This sounds like somehow different, but very soon you will see that it's not like that. It actually completes this picture, the Mayan myth. So what is this world tree then? What is this world tree? This is also in the Mayan mythology, in the Mayan symbology, this can also be called tree of life. And famous Mayan symbol Hunapku is also a tree of life. And when you look at it, you see it's like a cross that has 4 directions and maybe 4 more sub-directions. And it also looks like somehow yin and yang. So there's a duality, polarity to the consciousness, because this symbol is this symbol can be understood as the center of universe, or essence of life, or center of consciousness. So everything is emanating from Hunapku, and everything is coming in this nature of duality of yin and yang, and also in 4 directions, 4 main directions. And if you look at Mesoamerican cultures, it's obvious that the 4 directions is very important. They do this medicine wheel ceremonies and they worship each direction. And also they have this symbol of the world tree, which is this is taken from a temple in Palenque. And here you can see that the world tree is in the center like a cross, like a T. It also somehow looks like a swastika from the Vedic culture. And each direction has a god. Therefore, each direction has a different spiritual quality. Okay, coming back to this medicine wheel ceremonies, so the magician or the shaman of the tribe or the city is leading the ceremony, and a sick person comes. And the shaman looks at the person and analyzes and says, okay, you should go to north. Go and pray at the northern direction. Just be there, dance there, you will be healed. Another person comes, shaman analyzes, says, okay, go south or west or somewhere else. And they would believe that each direction has different qualities, different spiritual qualities, of course. But this world tree still sounds somehow like a metaphor. It's like these 9 underworlds and 13 heavens. You don't exactly logically understand what it means. And Kalaman again comes up with an interesting theory that this world tree is actually also a geographical world tree. So on our planet Earth, there is also a tree of life which has 4 directions. Oh, but before that, I need to give you this piece of information as well, which will kind of help us understand the entire picture. And that is about the brain hemispheres. Because in our brains also we have a kind of a polarity. Our left brain and our right brain has opposing poles. They are like extremely different from each other. And there's corpus callosum, which is kind of separating them from each other. And the left brain is actually seeing the part. The left brain always sees the part, and therefore it is analytical. And the right brain half sees the whole, sees the connectedness between everything. And that is, I would say, the main difference. The left brain sees the part, and the right brain sees the whole. Therefore, the left brain is analytical, as I said, and the right brain is more intuitive. The right brain gathers the information in intuition, like having a picture of something suddenly at one point. But the left brain still wants to follow a process of analysis. Okay, because left brain is seeing the part, it is also egoistic. The ego center, the center of I is also in the left brain. And the right brain is more about seeing the oneness of things and connections. Therefore, it is more synergetic, which would mean that it thinks about we. It has the we consciousness, while the left brain has I consciousness. So, okay, I would just like to bring about a question here. When you think about what we were discussing before, the world tree, I said that each direction has different qualities. And Kalaman says the world tree is having a geographical position. So each geographical direction on planet Earth is having a different spiritual quality. Therefore, having a polarity. Can you see this polarity on the planet Earth and in the peoples and the societies? Like, let's make it simple. Can you see more left brain attributes in one part of the world and more right brain attributes in another part of the world? Yes? Where do you see? What do you see? What?
East-West.
East and west, right? So west is more which brain part? Left brain. Okay. Well, I've been giving this lecture for 5 years. I asked this question maybe 100 times. This is always the answer. Everybody comes up with this answer here. Like, okay, Western world, left brain, Eastern world, right brain. So this is somehow even common sense to see that. And therefore we could talk about, this is an interesting theory perhaps, we could talk about the global brain. Like there's a holographic resonance between our brain and the earth. So there's a direct connection between our left brain hemisphere and the world's left western part. And according to Kalaman, this tree of life actually fits on the planet just like this. The equator somehow separates the north and the south, and there's a line in the middle of Europe which separates the left brain and the right brain of the global brain. The left brain is the Western world, the Western European countries, and the rest of the Western world. And the right brain is more the Eastern European countries and the Eastern world, Asia, mostly, of course you can see. And therefore this is like the back of the brain. You're looking at the back of the global brain. And funny enough, on the opposite side, almost on the opposite side, we have Hawaiian Islands. And now in Chile there are some new telescopes being built up. But before they are finished, until they are finished, the Hawaiian telescopes are the biggest ones on Earth. Therefore, they are like the ones, like the eyes of this global brain that are looking out into the sky, looking out into the cosmos. So therefore, there's this funny synchronicity that you can almost say that the Hawaiian Islands are the eyes, and therefore this is the back of the global brain, and the Western world is the left brain. So, why should you believe me? Let's just look at how the world was in 20 years ago, for example. For example, Europe. There was this famous Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc, right? And the Western Bloc was led by USA, and the Eastern Bloc led by USSR, and therefore all the Eastern European countries were actually under the influence of this communist regime. And what is communist regime or socialist regimes about? It is all about collectivity. It's all about thinking the interconnectedness of the society, that we are one. Like, they are not spiritual at all, of course. It was a very atheistic regime. But the idea was the collective is important. So we need to think the collective all the time in the Eastern Bloc. The Western Bloc was completely opposing, and the idea was being capitalistic, and the most valuable thing is the individuality, right? The Western world is all about boosting the ego and having an individual evolution. It is not good or bad in itself. I'm just trying to show you the picture, because we also have learned many things from this evolution of the left brain. However, the thing is that, so I just want to go back to this myth that the Mayas talked about the world tree being erected 5,000 years ago, and the light came in. So if you take this myth and try to see it in this picture, it would mean that 3115 BC is this time of activation of this tree of life. So the tree of life or the world tree is activated and the light enters. Okay, but where the light enters? As you see, the light enters to the left brain only, to the western brain, to the western world only. And therefore, since the last 5,000 years, our evolution is growing in a way that we are looking at the world and life more from a left brain perspective. We are improving about analytics, about how we can separate things. Like for example, 5,000 years ago, I'll just talk about them now. Like the third item here, the first nation of the world was emerged, Egypt. So this is the first time that we are building